Today, I'm going to talk about Asperger syndrome and what I call being socially colorblind. Now, nowadays, most people have heard of Asperger syndrome and they don't really understand what it's like to have that. But we can draw a really good analogy by talking about color blindness. When I first went to the university, Kansas State University, I took a Psychology 101 course. And the professor was talking about when he had gotten a job at a car dealership when he was in high school. At one point, he was told to go touch up some cars with some paint. And he did. And he got fired. And the reason why is up until that time, he had no clue that he was colorblind. He had used the wrong colors. Looked the same to him. Now, that's the thing about having Asperger's. It's more probably the case that our mirror neurons do not function like other people's mirror neurons. So consequently, we miss a lot of the subtle clues about how to act socially. And in the same way, if you're colorblind, you're obviously not going to be a fashionista or be able to color coordinate your clothes. And that's what happens when you have Asperger's. You miss all of these subtle little social clues that other people can easily tell from their mirror neurons that that's something you really don't want to do. Okay? I remember when I found out I had Asperger's, I went to a now defunct bookstore called Borders Books, and there was a book on Asperger's. And so I decided to look at it. I opened it up to the first page of text, and it had a quote. And the quote was, "Anybody would know not to say that." And I almost laughed because I'd heard that so many times when I was younger. Well, why would I not know to say it? I now understand it has to do with mirror neurons. At one time I was talking to my daughter, who does not have Asperger's, by the way, and we had been at a meetup, and she made a comment about something I said, and I said, well, what was wrong with it? And no need to go into it. It wasn't rude or anything. It was just mistimed and not particularly on the subject, I guess. But I said, how do you know? And she goes, Dad, you can just feel it. And it's like, feel what? But now I understand. And I also understand when they say that people with Asperger's don't have empathy. There's more than one type of empathy. I have empathy if I see people getting hurt. I don't like to look at violence or war. But there's another empathy that has to do with your mirror neurons reflecting what the people around you feel and picking up on those feelings. And while I can't really do that the same way as neurotypical people, I did over time learn to read faces, which is one of the masking things that people with Asperger's do. But when it comes to social color blindness, let's think about if you went out dressed with, I don't know, purple and pink polka dots against an orange background, that might be a little bit garish. But if the colors all looked fine to you, they looked the same, that's kind of like when you have Asperger's. There's just a lot of little subtle nuances that neurotypical people pick up from not only facial expressions and voice tone, but directly from the mirror neurons, which of course are affected by facial expressions and voice tone. So when you have Asperger's, you have to have other coping mechanisms, masking, and intellectually learning what works and what doesn't. Nowadays I have kind of like a stop, because there's a thing about Asperger's where you are totally honest. You just say what you think. And you learn real quick that's not a good way to deal with people. Most people are telling social lies all the time to keep the water smooth. So in the same way, when you run across somebody with Asperger's, don't get upset with their inability to fashionably coordinate the colors on their social clothing. Just realize that they're socially colorblind.